Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind the Country Chic Cottage. Today we're going to use the HTVRont Auto Tumbler Press. We're going to see how to use it, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on it and whether it's worth it for you to purchase or not. Now when you purchase this and take it out of the box, it's just one machine, zero setup. There is nothing to do. You just pull this out of the machine and the cord is even already attached, so there is nothing to do to set it up. It did come with a product manual as well as some heat tape and a pair of heat resistant gloves. So I already have heat tape and heat resistant gloves, but those are some extra that would come with it, and if you don't have it, you might use those for your first projects. Now I'm going to make several projects with this tumbler heat press. I'm going to make tumblers as well as mugs just to give you an idea of what it can do. Now the prepping process for sublimation mugs and tumblers is basically the same. So I'm just going to prep one, then I'm going to press a bunch of things, and then we're going to talk about the results I was able to get with this press. Now if you struggle with something like your tumblers, getting a good seam on them, that type of thing, I do have a full video on taping tumblers, and I will link to that in the description below this video, so you can head there to watch a full video. So if you struggle with the prep process that I'm going to show you, you can head there, watch that video, and come back and watch the rest of how to use the tumbler press itself. Now I am going to use some craft room type of files with shelves, sort of some cute files for these mugs and tumblers. If you want to get those, I have a bundle for free in the description below this video. So head there, grab that bundle. Whether you want to make tumblers and mugs for yourself, family, friends, this is a great bundle to use for that. So now let's take a look at the prepping process for one version of the tumbler mug. Like I said, they will all be very similar, so I'm going to prep them all in the same way, and then we'll take a look at how to use this machine. The tumbler press itself can handle 10 to 30 ounce drinkware. The diameter, so if you measure it across, the diameter needs to be 2.95 to 3.35 inches. I am going to do a variety of things, and I will show you how to determine, like, basically if it is too loose or too tight once you have like a blank and you just want to test it. However, this one works. So first you want to clean your blank, and you can do that with rubbing alcohol and a lint-free cloth or a lint roller. And then I have cut my sublimation print to size. So this is sublimation ink printed on sublimation paper with a sublimation printer, and I've trimmed it to size. I like to flip it over the back and add heat resistant tape on one side. Then you can just press that down well and trim once more to get the excess tape. That taping process just gives me a better seam if I have any overlap. Then we're going to add this to our tumbler, and I want to make sure I have it in the right orientation. So this is the top, and I'm going to put the tape side under and the other side goes over the top. And I did leave just a little bit of overhang, enough for me to pull some tape. Now I like to use the Artistry heat resistant tape for this portion because I can put it to one side and it's just slightly stretchy, and I can stretch it across. It just helps me to get everything really tight. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this process all the way down my seam. This is my tumbler completely taped, and again I will link to a video on my taping process. I also like to cover this with a sheet of protective paper to protect the heat press. So I never want to get any ink on my heat press. So I'm going to just put one sheet of protective paper and tape it a few times. And now this one is ready for the press. Now you can prepare the rest of the blanks that I'm going to do in a similar manner. Now let's take a look at how to use the heat press itself. Now the press is plugged in. I'm going to press the power button to turn it on. Then there are just a few buttons on this. So this first button is the temperature. We can press it and adjust for the temperature. So I'm going to press this, and I'm going to put this on 380 degrees. And you just use the plus and the minus to adjust the temperature. Then we'll press the time. I'm going to do it for 160 seconds. Now your time and temperature will vary depending on the tumbler or the mug that you are using. First of all, check wherever you purchase your blanks. Do they have a time and temperature? If they do, use that. If you don't have a time and temperature, there are some suggestions in the book that comes with this press, and you can try those if you would like. So this button is flashing red at this point. This is because the press has not come to temperature yet. Now this does also have an auto off function, so if you accidentally leave it on, it will turn itself off. Once the press comes to temperature, the machine will beep to let you know that it's ready. Now the only parts of this that get hot are really inside of this area. Now if you put your hand over this area, you can feel heat along this seam as well. However, all of the plastic components are cool to the touch, so you can touch those areas safely. This gap can also be used for your mug. So if I was to put a mug inside, the mug handle can stick outside of this gap. That means that you can't do a full press on mugs. You will need some area on both sides of the handle, and I will show you some results with that. For tumblers, you can get a full wrap, but you might have to rotate the tumbler. So I'm gonna do this. We're gonna change this time because I don't think it's gonna wrap all the way around. I'm gonna do 120 seconds on one side. I'm gonna rotate it and do 120 more seconds the second press. You may have heard the press beep. The light turned to green. Now we can start pressing. So I like to put my tumblers in with the seam side to one side. So I'm gonna put it to the left first. Just gonna put it into one side. And then all you have to do is press the button. The machine closes on its own and it starts counting down. Once the time's up, it's gonna beep and it's going to automatically open. Now I'm going to rotate the tumbler and I'm gonna press the R again for a second press. This will allow me to get this area. So you can see this area is not covered by my heat platen. So I want to rotate it over and get the area that was sticking out, and now it's on the bottom so it can heat adequately to sublimate. Once it's done with that second press, again it auto opens and we can remove it with heat resistant gloves. And I'm gonna put it on a heat resistant mat. So we talked about what sizes this will take, but let's take a look at that in action. So a standard 20-ounce tumbler, it's gonna fit in something like this. And one thing I don't like about this is you need to have it on to test these so it gets hot. So I'm gonna wear my heat resistant gloves. And when we close it, you can see it almost goes all the way around. However, I'm pushing, pulling on this tumbler inside here. It does not move like I moved the entire press. So I'm gonna press the R button again. So you can put tumblers in here and test them. Now with a mug, the handle will sit out of the top. And what I've found, so this is the side with the buttons, what I've found is to push the handle more to this side, then close, and it sort of pulls the press over. I don't particularly like the sound the press makes when you put a mug in there. I would put probably the mug to the center of the press or do 2 mugs at once. It will do 2 mugs at once. So if you have something that's too small, once you close it, you'll be able to move it inside of there. So be sure to check and make sure you can't move it inside of there. And then if you have something that's too large, just quite frankly, you won't be able to fit it inside of the press. Now the largest Cricut mug, that's this one. I'm gonna attempt to sublimate these. They will fit, however, you sort of have to work it inside of there. So while it does fit, it is very tight. I don't know if it's gonna fit once I get all of like my sublimation paper and stuff on there. We will see if it will work. So those are very tight, and that is the largest size of Cricut mug, which is fairly standard. Now, I did want to point out something like this camping mug or something like this with a wider at the top. You can put those in and just leave that top hanging out. Then you saw me put ceramic, you saw me put metal. You can also put glass inside of this and close that up, and it will just squeeze around your glass blank. Again, just make sure nothing moves and that it's not too small for the press itself. Let's take a look at how if you load something, like I'm just gonna load this small mug and only on one side. I'm gonna turn this on really quickly. If it's to one side, the pressure can get uneven. So if I was to close this, you can see what I'm talking about. And you see how this side closes way more than this side, and the pressure on this mug is very uneven. So I noticed this with one of the blanks that I tested with, and I'll show you the results of that later on in this video. I like to remove my sublimation print while everything is still hot, so I use heat-resistant gloves, sometimes a weeding hook, and just remove the protective paper, all of that tape, and the sublimation print to reveal my sublimation project. So now let's take a look at some of our results. So this was that 20-ounce skinny tumbler, and you can see that it turned out amazing. I love these fun and colorful craft room designs and adding them to a tumbler like this. This smaller version of the tumbler, so it's smaller, but it is a bigger diameter, and it turned out great as well, so I really liked it. Again, with these, I would put them towards the center, that way you wouldn't get uneven pressure. Then with mugs, I was able to do these largest Cricut mugs, so they will do them. And I put these both in the press at the same time to avoid that situation where I got uneven pressure. When I did that, these look so good. Now, the larger the mug, the more you're gonna have to leave on the sides of the handle. Now, I could have probably went slightly in on this one, and this one actually has a little bit of tape left on it. I probably could have went slightly in. I just didn't know how close I could get to the handle with this press. But I would definitely say that you're gonna have to stay away from the handle at least ½ an inch on both sides, and possibly more on the larger mugs. But overall, these designs turned out great on both of these mugs. Then I promised you some results with that uneven pressure. So this one has this lip, so I could not put it in the center of this press. It had to go to one side. You can probably tell with the uneven pressure that I didn't even get much sublimation around this top area. The bottom area did well, in the middle is a little bit faded, the top barely sublimated at all. So if you have something you have to put to one side, like these little camping mugs, you're probably not going to be happy with the results. Then finally, I did a glass sublimation blank just to see that yes, you can do glass with this. So I did do metal, glass, as well as ceramic. Now, the times and temperatures that I used for these. For metal tumblers, I used 380 degrees, 120 seconds, turned it, then did another 120 seconds. For the mugs, I did 390 degrees for 480 seconds, and I did want to note that 390 degrees was the maximum. For this glass, I did 380 degrees for 240 seconds, turned it, and did another 240 seconds. So now you've seen me make several projects with this HTVRont Auto Mug Tumbler Press. What are my final thoughts? Is this press worth it or not? So I do like some of the features of this press and others I don't. So I'm going to do kind of a pros and cons list. I do like the overall design as well as the color, just to be honest. But the design with it laying flat like this, I feel like it's very convenient as opposed to something like the Cricut mug press. I do like that it's sort of like the mug press in that it has a place where you can just slide in your mug or tumbler. However, it is longer, so I can fit like the 20-ounce tumbler without any type of hacks. And it does seem to incorporate a broader range of sizes, so I can do kind of smaller items and larger items. However, a con would be that it is still very restrictive. So I did show you how I got some uneven heating when I did smaller items and put them to one side. So a con would be that doing those smaller items, they would have to be able to go in the center in order to do them to get even heating. I do think as well that you need blanks that have a straight side for this to work properly, again with the uneven heating. So something like this 20-ounce tumbler that has a straight side works great, but something with a taper, you would not get an even heating over that tapered surface. So I do think sticking to straight-sided blanks. So this is going to be restrictive on the blanks that you can use. It also only goes up to 390 degrees, but to me that's kind of a wash because you can adjust your time if you have something that calls for 400-degree temperature, so I am actually okay with the temperature on that. I am not wild about the auto close feature on this because it makes a weird popping noise and I almost think I broke it when, especially if I put something small in there, or if I put something that is too small, didn't realize it was too small, hit the button, it closes all the way and then it continues to kind of push and make a noise. And I just think that I'm going to break the press every time. And that may just be a perception. That noise might not be anything critical. However, the perception is there and I feel like every single time that I'm going to break the press. I do like for the pros the safety features, so the auto shut off. When you auto close this, if you made any mistake at all, you can hit any button on the control panel to open it back up. So for safety, I do like that, because if I've hit the close button, accidentally had my hand in there or something like that, then I would want to open that back up very, very quickly, of course. I do also like that the plastic pieces, like I said, are cool. The only part that gets hot is this very inside piece. I did like that as well. The control panels, very easy to use, very simple buttons. I do appreciate that. I appreciate being able to control the time and the temperature. If you've ever used the Cricut mug press, you'll know it's all automatic. You can't really control the time and temperature, or at least not very much. Here I can set an exact time and an exact temperature, and I do like that feature. Then basically with any type of press like this, if like say I'm doing this tumbler and it's pretty big and I have the gap in there, when I close it, I do have to rotate it and press it a second time. But I feel like that's with any type of tumbler press, even the more manual versions, the ones that don't have the auto close. So is this press worth it or not? For my money, I would probably put some additional money with it and get something like a PYD Life tumbler press that can do similar things with 2 mugs, just because that inside coil piece is interchangeable. So I can buy additional coils later on down the road to do more sizes, tapered tumblers, different things like that. So I do still feel like a traditional tumbler press is more versatile than this auto tumbler mug press. However, if you are looking for something inexpensive, just to do mugs and tumblers, don't mind the restrictions as far as sizes and types of mugs and tumblers that you can do, then this press might be for you. I did find it worked well. Heating seemed to be consistent when I either put the blank in the center or got it to close, you know, around something long like this where the heat was evenly distributed. If you put it to one side, you're not going to get even heating. You're not going to be pleased with the results. So definitely put whatever you are putting in this in the middle. Or like I said, I did 2 mugs at once. That's a solution for that. So something that fits inside, doing that small, doing 2 of those at the same time works well as well. Now, this is not going to allow you, like I said, to do the sides beside the mug handle. I do have a video on making full wrap mugs, and I will link to that in the description below this video. So if you've wanted to sublimate all the way up to the handle, even under the handle, I do have a video for that. And in that video, you can see how to do that. This press will not do that type of thing. So you are still going to have to leave room on the sides of the handle for your sublimation mugs. So hopefully all of this helps you decide if this HTVRont Auto Press is for you. Now, if you are doing mugs and tumblers and want to press, want something inexpensive, I do think that you might be pleased with this. Now, I do think you might want to upgrade at a later date to a more traditional tumbler press if you get hooked on it, if you are doing like production, if you want more variety in sizes that you can do. Or you can get this and then something like a sublimation oven, and that way you do your variety in the sublimation oven and you use this for more traditional mugs and tumbler blanks that are straight-sided and fit within those diameters. So either option might work for you, but be aware that you might want something in addition to this press. This press might just be the beginning. So if you have any questions about anything we covered, drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you like this video, if it helped you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.